Welcome back, Valley Free Radio listeners. This is such a thrill to have Erik Hall and In Tall Buildings, the music project of Erik Hall, has released his newest album, Akinetic, and he's signed to Western Vinyl, and In Tall Buildings has received praise for his unique, spacious, experimental music that touches alt-rock, indie rock, electronic sounds, and Erik teamed up with producer Brian Deck, Modest Mouse, Iron and Wine to make an album filled with just great music. And I was listening to it. I've been listening to it off and on all week. It's such a thrill to have you here. Thanks for coming on my show, Erik.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be on with you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. And tell me about the making of the album. That must have been quite a thrill. And tell me about it. So we want to know all about it.
Yeah, well, I always tend to record as I write. So, I start working on music, at home by myself. I've got a studio at my place, and so I started to work up the songs, just, super basic, foundational tracks. And then when I linked up with Brian Deck, he came in and essentially kind of shared the reins with me, and we figured out what each song needed in order to, be complete. And we just kind of went through all those decisions together and knocked everything out. He came and worked with me at my own home studio, which was a huge, it was a real pleasure just having an engineer with so much experience come and work with me in my own space. I learned a ton. It was a lot of fun and super rewarding. Yeah,
it's fantastic that you could do that at home and have such a great producer involved. Now, I'd like to play a little bit of your music just to kind of kick things off. And would you like to pick a song and introduce it? Why don't you? I'll let you take the lead with that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start with the first song on the album, Beginning to Fade. It's kind of a good introductory track, I suppose. It's got a wide sonic palette, and it's kind of a fun one. So I would say that's probably the best place to start.
All right, great. So let's take a moment. We'll listen to a little of Erik's music. This is Beginning to Fade. All right. So hang on there, Erik.
All right.
Okay.
Song
great tune. Oh man, that was fantastic. Excuse me. And Erik, I have to just share that my prior guests were in from kids from a local high school talking about the Enough is Enough movement, and they were organizers and they were performing. They played live here, and it was very touching and moving, but kind of raw. And your music is just the perfect antidote to that. Very, very healing and wonderful.
Oh man, well that's great. That's all great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you at with promoting your show, your album, and how's it going? And you're getting out there and playing your songs. Tell us about what's going on.
Yeah, we're getting out there. We're on this tour right now. The shows have been going great. I've got a band put together to make this music happen live. Just doing about a 2-week run, kind of through the East and back towards the Midwest. And we'll go back home, and then we've got a few shows in the Midwest next month, opening for the band Lord Huron, and then we'll do another handful of dates kind of in the summer. Just trying to get out there. Probably go west, but not going to go crazy or anything and live in this van all year. But
right.
Got to do a little bit.
So obviously there are a lot of different sounds, a lot of different influences here. Could you talk a little bit about your musical roots?
Sure thing. I started playing the piano when I was about 8 years old. That was the beginning of it all for me. I was excited by Scott Joplin, ragtime music, George Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, and piano preludes. That's kind of the music that got me wanting to play the instrument. But I very quickly got into all sorts of different phases. I was a kid in the 90s. So, I grew up on grunge and alternative rock. That was on the radio back in those days. I was a huge Metallica fan as like a 10-year-old.
Is that right?
Yeah, I picked up guitar and just wanted to shred. So that's how I learned guitar. I went to school for music. Started to discover all sorts of more kind of contemporary classical music. Arvo Part, Steve Reich, Terry Riley. These are artists that kind of started to really inform the songs that I was writing that kind of became what I would say is now kind of whatever sort of style I'm writing in.
Nice, fantastic. So tell me about the band, and are you excited to play with these guys? And what's that like for you?
Oh man, it's a joy. These are guys. So I play everything on the album, so that's always kind of a solitary endeavor. This time with a producer, but still I was covering all the instruments. But so when we do it live, we have to, I need to put together a band. And these are guys that a couple of whom I've played with for years in other groups. So Quinn Kirchner is on the drums. He and I have played music since high school. He's my favorite drummer in the world. My friend Justin Walter is playing keyboards on this tour, and he's a brilliant trumpet player and experimental electronic musician in his own right. He has records out on Cranky that are kind of these super ethereal, kind of long-playing ambient records. And then my friend Stacey Hardin, who is a member of the band Bombadil. I called him up to see if he could play bass and do some of the singing, fill out some of those harmonies. So it's all just come together real well. We rehearsed at my house for a couple of days and then hit the road.
Nice. So now this is your third album, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and so you're based in Chicago, and tell me about your prior releases, and yeah.
Yes. Well, the first one came out in 2010. I did it entirely by myself. I recorded it and mixed it.
It's amazing.
Performed it in the
crazy
high-rise apartment I was living in at the time in Chicago. Came out on a small imprint in Chicago called Whistler Records. For the second one, it took me a good while to complete that one. I decided to bring in some help mixing that one. I mixed it at a studio in Chicago called Minbell. And then that came out in 2010. That was when I linked up with Western Vinyl, record label out of Austin, Texas. That's Driver. So, each record takes about a year less than the previous record took.
Yeah.
So, I'm at this point, I'm on track to put out another one in just a couple years, which makes me happy.
Yeah, that's so amazing. It's so amazing that you do all the instruments and just the distortion that you use and the kind of the electronics and the acoustics. It's just such a unique and really just ethereal kind of a sound. It's really wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the feedback that you're getting regarding your music? It's all very very positive.
It means the world to me. Yeah. I have completely lost perspective on what the heck this music is. To me, it's for me, it's just my song. It's really the only way I know how to put my songs out into the world. I really like creating instrumental music, and I'm working on another record entirely that's kind of more of an ambient thing. But I want to write songs and record them, and these are kind of these really exist as kind of pop music structures, and yet I throw all these other elements and layers at them, and so for me to hear that somebody is listening and really absorbing all of those details and really tuning in, that's the greatest gift that I could receive. That's all I could ask for. For someone to spend time with it and just dig in deep, that means the world to me.
That's awesome. Now I understand you recorded Akinetic between producing for Lean Year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And Justin Walter as well. So you're kind of in between. Yeah. How did you squeeze it in? I mean, what was that like?
That's kind of par for the course for me. Where in various projects at any given time, and we recorded Akinetic at my house, but it was really over the course of about a year, and we would work for a few days at a time, Brian and I, and then I might go, a few weeks without seeing him. Both of our schedules were just totally jammed with other things, and so we'd set the music aside, and we'd each be tied up with other projects, and then we'd come back together and work for another 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then we do it again. So that was just the nature of the scheduling, and that's pretty common for me. I'm always running around. I've got different projects, different,
Nice.
I play in a couple different bands, so I'm traveling a lot, and
sure.
But it's cool. It kind of keeps us on our toes. It keeps things in balance.
Awesome. And so if to my listeners, if you just tuned in, we're speaking with Erik Hall, and he's just released his new CD, Akinetic, and his In Tall Buildings project is out there, and you guys are playing, I believe, is that New Haven tomorrow night? Cafe 9,
New Haven,
is that correct? Yeah.
New Haven tomorrow night, exactly. And I should just say, we were going to be playing in town tonight in Northampton, but that show, it unfortunately wasn't able to come together. We all decided that Easter Sunday kind of got the best of us, and so we want to reschedule that as soon as we can and come back to Northampton. But in the meantime, yeah, New Haven tomorrow night is the next one.
Well, that's not too far. So I've been down there for shows myself. So Philly on the 3rd, Ann Arbor, Michigan on the 5th, Indianapolis on the 6th, St. Louis on the 7th. So you're moving around, and that's fantastic. And I'm so happy to catch you, in between shows. And how about if we go on to another song? I've been kind of just softly playing some of the CD in the background. We're kind of closing in on Cascadia, Siren Song, and around there. What would you like my listeners to hear at this point?
Why don't we move forward a bit and play the song "Curtain"?
All right. What would you like to say about it before I roll it?
Oh man, well this is just it's one of my favorite tracks on the album. It's a little bit more on the electronic side, and we put out a video for this song that my friend Rick Alberson shot. He's a brilliant filmmaker with feature films to his name, and I think it's cool to check out that video too. But this song is just one of my favorites.
All right, let's roll. This is Akinetic with Erik, and here it is, Curtain.
Taking a turn for the dark and distant. Oh, follow me out to the non-existent. I couldn't tell that the gauge had broken. I ground to a halt in West Illinois. Sitting on my shoulder, we were almost home. Underneath the magical endless twilight, taking a turn for the dark and distant. The blackening cloud, the delicate iris. You turn it around, you kill me with kindness. Our thoughts unfounded and running wild, thinking it's over. The curtain is down, we're sitting in silence. Pose the impossible burning question, or figure it out with an apt assessment. You're summing it up in a single sentence, but you follow it up with a false addendum. Quick approaching thunder, ancient infrastructure, underneath the magical endless twilight, pose the impossible burning question.
Hey, we're back. Hi, Eric. How you doing? What
Okay.
what a great song. I understand why it's got to be your favorite tune. It's really really wonderful.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. So we're winding down, and how would you like to wrap it up? I'm so happy to have you again, Erik Hall. And his new album, Akinetic, is out. And how can folks get in touch with you, first of all?
Oh, all the usual ways. tallbuildings.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
intallbuildings@gmail.com. Reach out, say hey, any which way. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So again, folks can catch you down in New Haven tomorrow night, and I hope you'll come back on my show when Northampton gets rescheduled, and I'd love to have you on.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I'd really like to make that happen next time. Absolutely.
Ideally, it'd be great having you play live in the studio, but I know that might be a stretch. But I always like to ask. So
no. I mean, that's I love to do that.
Oh, fantastic!
Let's do it.
All right, man. So let's keep in touch, and thank you again so much for coming on the air, and have a great rest of the tour, Erik.
Okay, thank you so much, and really my pleasure. I appreciate it.
All right, you're very welcome.